you should just date a woman. But if you're straight, here are the reasons why you should be dating an older man. Hi there, my name is Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Welcome here if you've never been here before. In today's episode, I'm going to tell you the top 10 reasons why you should be dating an older man. Obviously, this video is only if you're over the age of 18. Personally, I would prefer it if you were over the age of 21 to watch this video, but let's get started. The number one reason to date an older man is because they're sexy. Number two is that they have more experience not only in life, but also in the bedroom. So they are secret freaks, which leads me to number three for why you should be dating an older man is because you're probably the youngest girl they're ever going to be with again, unless there's some charismatic, sexy, like old man, silver fox, Richard Gere type. But how many of those are just out walking around? Not very many. So you're probably the finest woman he'll ever be with for the rest of his life. Just tell yourself that. That'll make you feel better. And I also think that it helps me to not get as jealous. But that's not even what this point is about. This point is that they will put in their best effort to please you because they want to prove to you that they are still the young, sexy man that they once were, and that is still living inside of them. You know how we always talk about our inner child? It's like their inner 25-year-old. The fourth reason to date an older man is because their bare minimum effort is usually way higher than a guy in their 20s. Just imagine the bare minimum that you think of, maybe like Netflix and chill, possibly that guy will like take you to Chipotle or something, right? No. Once you're dating an older man, even if it's not super serious, especially if it's somebody with some money, he's going to treat you right. Even if he's treating you at his bare minimum is still 10 steps ahead of guys our age, okay? So just keep that in mind next time you're swiping through Tinder. And I know that I briefly mentioned money, but I don't want you to think that this video in particular is about catching sugar daddies, okay? I mean, it's a similar thing, but that's a transactional relationship. I'm talking about actually dating, being in a relationship with an older man. But that leads us right into my next point. Number 5 is because they usually, generally have more money than guys our age. I'm not saying that this is true across the board, but if you are continually seeking out men that have the same intentions as you, the same goals as you, the same values as you, assuming that your intentions are pure and that you truly put the work in, we can assume that the older men you'll be attracting are high value men. And if you're not attracting high value men, then you need to stop and do some self-reflection. I know it's hard to hear, but if you keep attracting losers, why don't you look in the mirror and ask yourself why that is? All right, so number 6 is another reason why you need to become a high-value woman yourself, is because they know what they want. Do you know what you want? We're always talking about how we want guys our age to be more decisive and to tell us what they want, but how often do we tell them what we want? That's one reason that I love older men is a lot of them have been in relationships before. They know kind of how to deal with women. So they know what they want. They're decisive, but the way to attract a decisive man is to become a decisive woman. Switching up gears a little bit here, my next point is that they have really short attention spans. And I have ADHD, so we have about the same attention span. I'm gonna tell a little anecdote from last week, a couple little stories just to tie into this video. So last week I was hanging out with this guy that I've been seeing who is in his 40s. I'm not gonna say much more about it, but I had said something that I thought was kind of embarrassing and that I thought he was gonna judge me for. But then the next morning I realized they don't care. They don't have that kind of attention span. They're not gonna remember, because I realized this when the next morning before I left, he asked me if I had seen that big car accident on I-35, which was something that we had already discussed the night before. And that's when I had said something that I was slightly embarrassed by. So it made me realize that there was no reason to be embarrassed because he forgot that conversation anyway. So number 7 is, if you have ADHD like me, they probably have the same attention span as you, and they won't remember any of the embarrassing things that you do. Number 8 is that they're heavy sleepers, at least the ones I've been with. So if you're like a restless sleeper, you can't sleep, you toss and turn, you don't really have to worry about that. I know I get self-conscious about that. The night that I was over there was during the new moon, so you can only imagine I could not sleep at all that night. And I was just tossing and turning in this man's bed, and he did not budge one bit. It was great. Another great thing about dating older men is number 9, which is they always expose you to the greatest throwback movies and music. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you're like me, but I love old 80s comedies. One of my favorite movies, I know it's not from the 80s, it's called Almost Famous, but the first time I ever watched it, it was introduced to me by an older man that I had been dating at the time. And that same guy, I used to watch a bunch of Eddie Murphy comedy specials with him. He just put me on the greatest throwbacks, and I loved every minute of it. If you are more interested in modern type of stuff, maybe this isn't a perk for you, but this was one of my favorite things. I'm an old soul, so I love older men because they just get me. We're on the same wavelength. We vibe really well. I always tell people I'm just like a 60-year-old man in the body of a 23-year-old woman. A 22-year-old, 23 tomorrow-year-old woman. I think that is a lot to do with the fact that my dad is like 66. So I grew up around a lot of throwback stuff and around a lot of old people, but that is definitely one of the perks of dating an older man. And the 10th reason to date an older man is because personally, I've never been cheated on by an older man. Like I said earlier, I think that helps me with my jealousy because I don't feel like I'm worried about competition. Because most of my competition are 45-year-old women? I'm sorry, but what are the odds that he's gonna choose them? Slim to none. I've never been cheated on by an older man because, like I said, I just kind of vibe with them. We all hang out. We're all chill. I've never been cheated on by an older man, and I attribute that to the fact that I'm the best that they're ever gonna get for the rest of their life. So, yeah. But don't take this to mean that I'm not saying that older men are shitty. The same guy who showed me the movie Almost Famous also locked me out of his house after we got in an argument one time. So don't think that just because it's better to date an older man, don't think that means that you won't still have problems with them. All men are shitty. You should just date a woman. But if you're straight, here are the reasons why you should be dating an older man. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Why don't you tell me the oldest person you've ever been in a relationship with? Or maybe like the largest age gap you've ever had in a relationship. Then make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and catch me in the next video. All right?